Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with this week's episode of the Market Monday Recap, where I recap the popular series I do over at my main channel, the Rogue Deck Builder, on just the overview of the MTG market. Now, this week we talked about my strategy of looking at EDH Rack in a new site called Architect for ideas on cards to invest in for upcoming commanders from the latest set. So this latest set is all the rage about Feather. If we look at all the cards that are contained in Feather the Redeemed, they have spiked up significantly in price to even the kind of the tier 2 cards like Twinfall and Launch the Fleet are starting to go up with Feather. So this week we talked about Neheb. I did a little bit of thought experiment, went through all the architect lists of Neheb and tried to determine what Neheb Dreadhorde champion would entail when building a deck. And the more I look at Neheb, the more I actually like Neheb. I think this is a sleeper commander. I actually think that people are going to like to build this commander because it is incredibly powerful. Neheb is a 4-mana 5/4. Trample whenever it deals combat damage to a player. You add that much, or you can discard as many cards as you want, draw that many cards, and add that much red to your mana pool. So this is just a wheel effect on a commander, which goes pretty insane with being able to take extra combat phases. So again, I think once everyone is over the Feather hype and all the rage about Feather, Neheb is just as good as Neheb the Eternal. It's just as fun as like the Atali decks, and those it tended to be very popular mono red commanders. And this is definitely the commander that I want to build. Are some fun interactions with this commander, and 10 decks right now is the only thing that's registered on EDH Rec. I think that this one is going to be a very, very popular commander in the future. So anyway, let's look at the top 10 cards that I would invest in surrounding Neheb Dreadhorde Champion. So starting off at number 10, this is Obsidian Battle Axe Foil. So there's too much supply for the regular version, but this is interesting because it did have a price spike when Battle Bond came out. When the Warriors, so this is the equipment, says equipped creature gets +2/+1 in haste, and whenever a warrior creature comes into play, you may attach the Obsidian Battle Axe to it. So what is so good about this is it curves perfectly with Neheb. So turn 3 Obsidian Battle Axe, turn 4 you put it on Neheb, it gives it haste, you attack in, and then you can start. All you really need to do is connect one time with Neheb, and you can go for some infinite combos. There are plenty of them. If I've already identified if there are ways for you to draw additional cards, you're producing a ton of mana that you do when you draw those cards with Neheb. So if you have a handful of 7, you drop your 7 and get another 7, and then if that's enough to take an extra attack phase, you can just keep rinsing and repeating and actually generating up mana from your initial attack. And it's very easy if then you have some sort of way to shuffle back in your library to get those extra attack phases back in your library, and then you're going to pretty soon have even more cards to discard with Neheb. And again, it's very, very, in the gold fishing, I've been able to infinite combo on turn 4 many times with the Obsidian Battle Axe, giving the haste to the Neheb. So anyway, I think that the foils are the ones to go after. Like I said, the normals just have too much supply right now. Normals are actually pretty good though, because this is something out of Morningtide, which doesn't have the greatest supply. So an uncommon out of Morningtide is like a mythic out of one of the recent sets. So keep that in mind. I do like the normals, but I think the foils are the real gem here. I think they're going to have another price spike because of Neheb. So on to my number 9. This is the World at War. This, speaking of additional attack phases, this is one that curves pretty well with Neheb as a 5-drop. So after the first pre-combat main phase this turn, there's an additional combat phase followed by additional main phase. And then you untap all creatures that attack this turn. So this is going to be able to curve perfect with Neheb on turn 5, get the additional attack phase, attack again, and it does have rebound for the following turn. So pretty good card as far as the extra attack phase. And what I like about this card is it's going up anyways. So regardless of Neheb, this has had that trajectory that we like. It has very low supply from Rise of the Eldrazi and has never had a reprint. So that is good going for it. The foils are also very, very tempting here with only $7. So it's only a times multiplier of 2.15, which is incredibly low for a card like this. It's actually gone down from its height of the $8 mark all the way back down to about the $7 mark. Buy list price is a decent spread with Card Kingdom, $5.50 versus $7. That's not too terrible. So I actually do think the World at War foils are something that can definitely go up in value, just based upon, I mean, even without Neheb, long term these cards are going to be going up. All right, so that goes on to my number 8. This is Bonus Round. Bonus Round was out of Battle Bond. It already has, once again, that trajectory that we like. It had a low price of 0.75. It seems to be increasing at least a few cents per day, which, that's, you check back in, 60 days, that's 60 cents. But I think it's going to go higher because of, specifically, I think that this is pretty decent in both Feather and Neheb here. So until end of turn, whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, that player copies it. So like Feather, it's not too terrible to get additional copies of a lot of spells you're going to be using. Unfortunately, there's not a way to get this back from your graveyard with Feather to then just rinse and repeat every turn. But I mean, it's something that can go in literally any red deck for EDH, and it looks like that's what has been driving up the price. It's funny because the TCG market price / mid is higher than Card Kingdom at the moment, so I think Card Kingdom might be the best place to actually, if you have store credit, to buy these and then rinse and repeat. Let's see how much supply they have over at Card Kingdom with the... it looks like they do have plenty in stock here for Card Kingdom. So Bonus Round, I think, works better with Neheb when you start to get that mana to take even more additional attack phases. This is definitely one of those that can up your card count. For the additional cards that you start drawing off the attack phase, you can just dump in your graveyard until you find ways to shuffle them back in. And Bonus Round is... it's for this, like usually there's these spells that will copy one until end of turn. So every spell that you continue to cast that turn is going to be copied. So I do like Bonus Round. I think that it's a solid pickup right now. Battle Bond stock is completely low at the moment. There's very few boxes out there for a decent price. The set EV of Battle Bond is absolutely crazy right now at $140. So this is I think a pickup. I don't see cards going down from the set. All right, let's go on to the next one. This one's Aggravated Assault. This is probably the best card for Neheb. Will probably go in almost 100% of all decks that build it. The only way that this is going to get cut from most Neheb decks is just if they're going on a budget. This is the perfect one because it continues to allow you to have it, as long as you have 5 cards in hand and an open opponent with life left, then this allows you to continue to cycle through your deck if you have 5 cards in hand, because it will generate you the 5 mana. You will untap all your creatures, attack again, discard 5 cards, untap, attack again, discard 5 cards. So this is the easiest way to go turn 3 Aggravated Assault, turn 4 Neheb, turn 5, have an infinite attack as long as an opponent is open it and has life to lose. So again, if there's any way to net up cards or net up mana, like if you had 6 cards, you are netting up that mana every attack phase. And yeah, it's just it is the perfect card to go in Neheb. What I like about this is I think that we've seen the bottom of the Explorers of Ixalan price of this. It looks like Card Kingdom has already bumped up the price list to $4.50, so you can see that the spread is almost non-existent with market price and Card Kingdom. This is usually a card that you know is going to go up in value. The masterpieces are a little bit lucrative here too, because it does look like they're at their bottom. I'm not a person that has the best advice on these type of masterpiece cards because I typically don't like cards that are harder to move rather than cards that are easier to move. There's a key demographic that's going to be looking for these, but this does look decent as a spec right now, as it is at its at least 24-month low about here. Yeah, so you'll never know what these type of cards will start to go up. These are also the Amonkhet and Our Devastation are starting to run low on supply, believe it or not. I mean, all the fat packs are pretty much, or the bundles are pretty much out of stock from these series, and the booster boxes are actually, a couple distributors are out of stock of these as well. Anyway, Aggravated Assault's a good one. The one I like the most is Explorers of Ixalan. Speaking of another card out of the Amonkhet block, this is the Combat Celebrant. Now, I like Combat Celebrant anyway, because if anyone's played the Helm of the Host, Combat Celebrant combo and Commander, I think that combo is here to stay. For the TLDR version, Combat Celebrant, Helm of the Host equals infinite attacks because you're creating a copy that then exerts, untaps your gives you another attack phase. You put another Combat Celebrant token, exerts, untap, exerts. You get infinite attack phases. So Helm of the Host plus this means that this card's going to go up anyway, but it's another just card that works with Neheb. Actually does curve quite nicely with Neheb too for 3-drop, 4-drop, and then start attacking with additional attack phases. If you have, like the Aggravated Assault or other ways that can actually untap the Combat Celebrant, no, because it still has Exert on it. Yeah, so is the Helm of the Host. It allows you to have that infinite, but it's still a good card to be putting in a deck that wants additional attack phases. So I like this card to go up in value. It's very, very low as a mythic from Amonkhet. at the $2.65 mark. Card Kingdom's already adjusted its price, and the buy list price $1.50. So that's actually low for a $4 card. Usually a good indication if a card's moving a lot with Card Kingdom is a 50% or higher spread within Card Kingdom. So if they're paying $2 for this card, you can tell that it's actually selling quite aggressively. But they have upped the price though comparatively to market pretty significantly, which is a good sign for this card. All right, on to the next one. This is Savage Beating. Savage Beating is a little bit expensive, but it has extremely low supply, has never had a reprint, and the foil multiplier is 2.19. This card is very, very good with Neheb again because of the curve at the 5 mana. And you can also give it Double Strike, which is very significant with Neheb. So the Entwine gives Double Strike the, or you choose one, either Double Strike or untap all creatures and gain additional attack phase. So this is so good with Neheb because it allows you for the remainder of the turn to have a double striking Neheb, which will trigger twice. And then it'll also give you additional attack phase. So again, as long as you have an opponent that's open, you're going to get a lot of triggers off of Neheb and cycle through your deck to find those pieces to go infinite with. So I think this is an auto included in every deck. I think that smart builders will put the Savage Beating. There are a few take extra combat that you might not need, but I think Aggravated Assault and Savage Beating are the auto includes. Like you can make a case for World at War, you can make a case for a few of the other ones, but this is the one that I like the most. All right, on to the next one. This is from Ultimate Masters. This is Anger. I think that this is the perfectly synergistic card with Neheb. It's going to give haste if it's in your graveyard, and Neheb throws things in the graveyard. So what this does too is it sets up for plays where your opponent does take care of Neheb, goes back to the command zone. If you're able to at least get one attack in, cycle an Anger into the graveyard, it's going to allow you to have the haste. Another thing with this, if people are running Eldrazi's in their deck with Neheb, like I do like that. At first, when I looked at Neheb decks with Eldrazi, I'm like, why? And then I realized that really they're just using him in there for the Elixir of Immortality effect of shuffling your cards back in your graveyard. But eventually you're going to have enough mana to actually hard cast the Eldrazi's, and then Anger after an additional attack phase allows them to have haste, which is important for say one opponent's open, another opponent isn't that open. You can start attacking that opponent with the Annihilator so that they will become open to then just finish off the game. And I think Anger is a key piece for that as a free card in your graveyard that actually does have some sort of significance. Again, there is that kind of awkwardness if it gets shuffled in from your Eldrazi, then you're gonna have to find a way to put it in again. But it's still a pretty key card for the Neheb build. All right, then we go on to the really juicy stuff. This is the Hamra Archive. So this one's already been going up in value, but this is definitely the key piece for Neheb, is if you would draw a card, except for the first one you draw each turn, you would draw 2 cards instead. So this is the one that allows you to net up the cards, and that allows you also to net up the mana to find you what you need. This has a trajectory that it was already going up, and which is a good sign for the card. And it is from Origins. Origins is still one of the lowest EV sets, so there is a lot. I think Origins was a very popularly open set, though, so there's a lot of supply of this. However, if Hamra Archive actually continues to go up, it might be worthwhile to actually start cracking Origins boxes if you can get them at a decent price. However, this is just the perfect synergistic card for Neheb. It will go in the vast majority of decks. The only people, again, that will be cutting this from Neheb is people on a budget, because other than that, this is pretty much a shoo-in for the deck. Leads us on to the next one, which is Neheb the Eternal. This is my number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is my number 9, which is Neheb the Eternal. This is currently been flatlined for quite a while, but I think Our Devastation is finally old enough to where these types of cards are going to go up. This is a popular commander. This is one of my favorite commanders to play. It works very similarly to Neheb the Dreadhorde, but on a different axis. Usually when you build Neheb the Eternal, you're building it with a lot of damage spells to multiple players, and then you ramp up to something big, like a huge spell. Or how I build it is I usually just ramp up to a huge burn spell that hits all players, and then win the game that way. So it does have a different axis that it's playing on, but there's a lot of similarities between the two decks that they both want to take a bunch of attack phases. And if you're going to do it with Neheb the Dreadhorde, you want Neheb the Eternal in your deck, because it's also going to add you additional mana for every damage you've dealt. And then if you're taking additional attack phases, it's going to help you find the cards that then allow you to cast multiple spells per turn, and then just go through your entire deck. So I think this card will go in basically every Neheb the Eternal or Neheb the Dreadlord. You win for flavor points too, for having both versions of the card and whatnot. So I forgot to add one to my tab here. I'm going to add one more card to my tab. Oops, I forgot to hide the tab this time. Usually I hide the tab so people don't look at what we're doing. But this one is my number one pick. And it's basically on a theory that I have that we saw low supplies last year start to get bought out. So everyone knows about the reserve list where people are thinking, okay, let's buy these cards because they're extremely rare. And if a card is extremely rare, can't be reprinted, and we add more players to the pool, then they're going to want to pick up old cards. You'd be surprised at how many people want specific old cards, reserve list cards, or even not even reserve list cards. If it just exists as an old version, they want that one for their deck. So there's like demand for that particular stuff. This one is out of Portal 2. So Relentless Assault has incredibly high supply. You can see how many versions this has been printed in. But look at Portal 3 Kingdoms. Portal 3 Kingdoms is a very, very rare set. And we have Relentless Assault going for about like 123. So any playable card out of Portal 3 Kingdoms is expensive. But if you actually look at Portal Second Age, it's similar. Like any playable card out of Portal Second Age is expensive just for being playable. So if we look at the sleight of hand, $9 out of Portal 2 because it's a playable card. We have even Piracy, another playable card that is more than its other version that it's in. So I guess it's the same as Starter. Okay, so that's not one that I was thinking of. But if you look through these, most of these, like Armageddon, there's another one that's more out of Portal 2 because it's in the Portal 2 version is actually sought after. Well, there seems to be a little discrepancy with Relentless Assault out of Portal 2. It's about the same price as its counterparts. I mean, you can find a few other ones like 65 cents for the recent dual deck Merfolk versus Goblins. So regardless, I think Relentless Assault's going to go in, of course, Neheb, because it's an additional attack phase. And it's actually one of the cheaper ones at 4 mana. However, like this, when researching this one caught my eye just because of the scarcity of this card. Portal Second Age, very playable card. I think that this one's just lagged behind just people collecting this set. There will be a lot of collectors collecting Portal Second Age, and there will be a lot of people that just want to kind of spice up their deck to have these older cards in their commander decks. For this reason, I like the Relentless Assault. If I remember correctly, there isn't a lot of supply of this card either. So if you come over to TCG Player, it looks like we have a few lightly plays, just one of, but I think if we click on this 4 of, this shows a different picture. You can see here we have a moderately played and a heavily played is the only ones right now. They have 4 of copies of this card. So that to me shows there is incredibly low supply of this Portal Second Age. Again, this is a card that will probably continue to be reprinted and reprinted and reprinted. But at what point in time are people just going to realize that, hey, reserve lists, we're investing in reserve lists because of the scarcity of the card? When are versions going to start to be targeted as well? We saw that with ABU, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited. Regardless of the card, they were targeted. We're starting to see it with the Dark, even if it's been reprinted. People are targeting those cards. Legends, people are targeting those cards because of just the scarcity of those cards. So I think Portal Second Age will get that treatment, and any playable card out of Portal Second Age I think is going to go up in value indefinitely. And this is probably the best one with the amount of play this card sees. So that's kind of my list of cards that I think that are going to see play or going to go up in value because of Neheb. Remember, this is a sleeper. It's not going to be like Feather. Feather has already priced the spike of these cards. They're going up like crazy. Even cards like Crimson Wisps now has gone crazy due to Feather. And I think it's just a matter of time when people realize that I think Neheb's a better commander. Yeah, the thing that is going against Neheb the Dreadlord is it's very similar to Neheb the Eternal. It's very similar to some of these other decks that work on the same axis. It's very similar to a Tally. Like I build a Tally with a lot of take extra attack phases as well. So I mean, the funny thing about them is I'm probably going to put a Tally in Neheb the Dreadlord. I'm probably going to put a Neheb the Eternal in Neheb the Dreadlord because, they function. Same thing with the Tally. I'm probably going to throw in a Neheb the Dreadlord into a Tally because it functions so well with how that deck is built too. So yeah, people that might have those 2 decks might not build another one, but I think they are different enough. They all kind of work on a different axis that they're all going to be very, very popular Commander decks. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll have the Rogue Roundup later today, so you're going to get a double upload today for the Rogue Market. And yeah, if you like these sort of videos, definitely check out the longer version over at the Rogue Deck Builder for our weekly Market Monday. Thanks for watching.